I think we're ready when you guys are. We're recording? Awesome. All right. This calls to order the Monday, March 25th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 1 is approval of the minutes from the meeting held on February 26, 2024. Is there any discussion or comments? Or a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is your microphone's on?
I make a motion we approve the minutes as written.
I'd second it.
All's in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Next item of business is item 2, old business. There is none. Moving on, item 3, new business. Item A, site plan for 5928 El Monte Street, Fairway, Kansas, as submitted by Brian Stanley of James Eagle Custom Homes, LLC. Property owner requests for a new single-family residence. Basil, will you please provide your staff report?
Yes, I'll let my report stand as submitted. Just quick question, clarification. No detention basin is required per the watershed analysis, and staff does recommend approval. And I'll open for questions.
Any questions for staff? Or discussion?
Just looks like a new house to me. Meets the requirements.
Would someone care to make a motion?
I would make a motion for the house at 5928 El Monte that we approve the plans as submitted in the staff report.
Is there a second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Next item of business is item B, site plan for 3611 West 61st Terrace, Fairway, Kansas, as submitted by Steve Short, property owner. Request for exception to the minimum required green space for swimming pool. Basil, can you provide your report?
Yes, on this one, the applicant submitted a request. This house went through Planning Commission, got approval in 2022, and it was finalized in 2023. There was 371.5 square feet left. And part of that number, after the approval from Planning Commission, the builder came in and added a parking space because they had more than 400 square feet of green space left. So he came and applied for a parking space that was 10 by 15, I think. So that's why the numbers were a little bit confusing. I know Commissioner Zwick sent me an email about it, but I think that's where the confusion came because the survey did not account for that additional square footage. So the applicant is requesting proposed green space of 60.6%, and the watershed analysis did not require an infiltration basin. Staff does recommend, is not supportive of it just because of the numbers and the requirement. And I'm open to questions.
Does the 60.6% green space, does that include that additional parking space you were talking about?
That is correct.
So that's in there, and with this addition, we'd still have the 60.6. Okay.
Yes.
So one challenge, just looking at the plans, sometimes when we get these, they're a little more detailed and we can really see the exterior layout. This one, we can't even see the house. Well, I guess we can see an outline, but do we have copies of the previous approved plan available?
We do. I mean, again, yeah, we do because it's a new house, and you can really go back to that date, and it will be posted online.
Okay.
In the archive. But I can provide those for you.
Or could we pull it up right now, I guess? If not, we can.
Okay, go ahead.
Just one other quick question for you too. So, the survey that was done shows basically it's 986 square feet for the pool area, and you're saying they added a parking space, but where does the other 600 and some square feet were accounted for? Because that would be more than just a parking space added. A parking space, I would expect to see around like at the most 250 square feet. Where's the rest of the square footage coming up on their calculations?
Okay, so the addition they're proposing is 1,004 square feet.
Correct. They're showing 1,004, but the calculations for impervious area, they're showing in the calculations for the drainage area, shows 1,651, which would be a difference of,
And I think I talked to the applicant because he used the same engineer as the guy that did the house. So I don't know where the numbers differ. I think he did not account for that space, the parking space, which is, I think, 11 or 12 by 15 or even more. But I remember what was left is the 271.
Would you please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record?
Okay. Hello, everybody. Steve Short, Christina Short, New Homeowners. Can I give like a 60-second sort of
Sure.
brief background? So we just recently moved to Fairway. We moved from St. Louis. During the process, we had planned on having a pool. We have a pool in our current home in St. Louis, and so that was originally the plan. So I've been in touch with Basil. And all kinds of stuff. So I'm pretty got up to speed, thanks to Basil, in terms of knowing kind of what the stipulations were. Originally, he had a great recommendation. So we spoke to the different cities, and as we went through the different cities, kind of understood all the different rules for the different cities. And one of the things that he had suggested was coming with three. That was originally my plan. Our first design actually had 59% green spaces. Maybe what we had in six. The second version had 60%. Originally, we do all three versions, and I realized each engineer drained. A certain size, which I don't know off the top of my head. With the parking spot, with actually, I ended up at 61%. I had heard 60%. Magic number, so to speak.
Any other questions for the applicant while they're here? Thanks. Is there anyone else that's here to speak? Okay. Did you say? I thought you were about to say something.
No.
Are we not able to pull up the?
I don't know which one to pull from.
It would be April 25th, 2022.
Thank you.
And maybe now that we've discussed that the patio changed and the parking spot changed, this may be a moot point, but. Yep. Is there another one maybe showing the, I guess we have this one, but I didn't know if there was a more detailed layout. Site plan. Because I'm just used to the most recent pool submissions we've had have been very detailed, and I didn't know if we had a better site plan, but it appears we do not. Okay.
Yeah, that's the submitted.
Well, I mean, we have that here too, though, so, right, we're not. Okay, sorry about that, thank you.
They radius,
That one.
yeah, they radius the
Yeah, there's
curb. They radius the patio.
What?
That's the difference. They radius the patio from what was submitted by the builder to what's shown here.
Yeah.
Then I think the 4 foot between the house and the patio, I mean, but that I think was counted in the original submittal.
For discussion?
Remind me, Wendy, what, in the past, when we've looked at some of these, we've kind of generally landed around what percentage? Because we require 65%, but we've gone as low as, do you remember what it is?
I think it's around 60, but I was
Okay.
hoping someone else could verify that for us. 60 is,
My recollection is it's been about 60%.
That's what I remember. We've kind of set that as the base to comply with what people with smaller lots would be required to do. And it sounds to me like they were kind of clued into that number, and they've met it. So I guess I would probably be in favor of going ahead with this. It looks like they pretty well cut the pool down to the minimum. I mean, it's just the pool and the curbs and a little place for a couple of benches.
and no infiltration trench is required, so that's encouraging.
Yeah.
I would agree. It seems pretty reasonable. Reasonable amount of patio space and usage of the backyard.
Would someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve as submitted with staff recommendations.
Is there a second?
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Next item of business is item C, discussion to consider regulations to require temporary fencing of lots during construction projects. Anna, do you have something?
Yes, so there is a red line in your packet. That is just comparing to the last version. It looks a little worse than it is. Basically, I did just pick a section in the code in the building regulations, so I put it there. So that's some of the new language. And then I removed two of the provisions we discussed last month about when the construction fencing would apply. It was for additions or remodels. And then I also made a change, and you can see the comment on the red line about how the language is revised to parallel requirements in the tree protection ordinances. So I just made it the same. Didn't seem like it would be appropriate for different requirements to apply.
And so for the rest of the commission's FYI, Ron and I both reviewed this, and Ron actually proposed the elimination of items C and D, and I concurred with that, so.
Too easily, indeed.
So we've negotiated that. You're welcome to your own opinion, but we have worked through that as a consensus.
Yeah, and we're more than welcome to hear anybody who's got a complaint with that. I mean, I guess I kind of changed my position. I kind of have a hard feeling in my throat about that house on Norwood. But I don't want to impose a lot of additional requirements on other people who are just adding a small addition to the back of their house or something like that. But I would kind of consider if there was a way, and I don't know if it's possible, to put a provision in there that people doing these 25% increases or the two items that we struck, if they don't keep a neat site, don't meet the requirements anticipated, that somehow we could come back to them and give them one warning and then require them to put up a fence. It's like, I don't know if that's a feasible thing, but I just see the guy on Norwood kind of listens. I met with the community officer up there a couple of weeks ago. She was up there, and I just walked by. I didn't have any kind of a meeting schedule, but she was trying to decide if she should cite them for just parking those vehicles there. And I explained to her they've just been parked there for weeks and not moved, and nobody's been working on the job, and that's kind of a violation. And she was unsure whether she could issue a ticket about that or not. But it feels like we either just don't have the ordinance to do it or don't have the will to do it. And I don't know what would be the solution, but I feel like if somebody is violating the neighborhood and just leaving junk around and parking equipment all over and not even actually working on the job, that maybe we should be able to say, okay, fine, put up a fence, and then you can just leave it any way you want.
Are these vehicles parked on the lot, or are they parked on the street?
They park on the lot. They park,
Okay.
I think after she's maybe cited them or called them.
Yeah, I think she can cite them, and then, but see, the issue with those cars, they'll move it, and then when she goes out and do her visit, and if the cars are not there, she thinks that they're compliant now. I mean, you can play around the system.
Well, yeah, that's it.
Or
I mean,
you can take it away for a week and then bring it back.
well, they don't even do that. They just move one out and park the other one in the yard and have one back in the drive. And
That's
then,
right.
and she was saying, well, they shouldn't park in the yard. And then for 2 or 3 days after she was there, they parked both of them in the drive. And then for some reason, they pulled one out. I think they took the pickup truck and parked the other one back in the yard, and they're still that way. If they were working on the job, it wouldn't be so irritating, but they're not even working on it. I mean, and those are lawn service trucks. They're not construction trucks at all.
Well, I think he's using that side as a storage.
Right, and I agree. And if he wants to do that, fine. Fence the yard. That's kind of my feeling. But maybe there's no way to do that. I don't want to punish everybody in Fairway because of one bad apple, but it seems like there should be something we could do about that.
So I think what we're referring to is enforcement. I guess Basil, is that the community officer? Does this, aside from that issue with the cars parked and stuff, does this ordinance, the way it's written, or this amendment, does it give enough information for enforcement of the fencing?
Well, it will give an enforcement. That enforcement will be my responsibility.
Okay.
Where the scenario Ron is talking about, that's the community
Sure.
officer.
Okay.
So even if you have the fencing, you still don't have to, you can't put debris like regular trash that you see, like we cited other builders where you have the excess lumber, but then they eat lunch and they leave their debris there. So to me, we can still cite them for that portion. But the fencing itself is going to be either me or Public Works
Okay.
enforcing that portion, which I think Public Works will end up doing that because of the tree protection. So
Okay.
that mostly will land on their responsibility.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think the one thing we discussed last month, for me at least, is that this is a safety issue. So we're trying to prevent issues with people falling in a pit or getting hurt. But in terms of the aesthetics of the site, that's kind of on the homeowner. And I don't feel like we can really say it should look a certain way or not, because even if the fence is there, you can still see it from up above. The fence may not be maintained as well as we'd like. So for me, it's the safety issue is what I wanted to see addressed.
Yeah, and I guess I agree with you. A physical barrier fence is there. If there is trash or debris, it's going to stay within the construction job site. Then it's a matter of aesthetics. If it looks some way, that's a community relations officer to take care of that. But if we can try to keep it contained within the site, protect the site from safety, attractive nuisance, et cetera, I think that's what the planning commission's authority can do, is just put something in place that you can enforce, and then community resource officer can do themselves for whatever bylaws they have for the city.
Yeah, and I think we had that discussion. I mean, we have already builders that put the fence in. But then we get calls and the police have to go because the gate is swinging into the street, not inside. So but we'll manage the enforcement of it.
Yeah, and if you've confirmed, you've got language in here that is enough for you to enforce?
I
and you're
think,
good?
yes.
Good, that's what you asked for, so.
So one thing I mentioned at our last meeting was if it's premised on safety, maybe we need to have something in here. Maybe I'm not seeing it, but something about securing the site when there aren't any construction personnel on site. So I'm assuming there's a gate that can be closed.
I'm assuming the gate will be locked when they leave, and that's what we've been seeing on the ones that do install that fence, so.
Okay.
I would agree, though, we probably should include that, otherwise we're not really addressing safety.
Something about like locked up in good, or secured site in good manner or something to,
You can do that.
Well, Basil, do you feel that us taking away that C and D requirements, that's weakening your ability to oversee these sites?
No, not really. I mean, because now it's new construction, you're gonna have it. The additions, I mean, we had to start with a number. I don't have a problem with that
Okay,
decision.
well, I kind of felt like if we started out with the new construction but the remodel still became a problem, we could just add those in.
No, I don't think there's a problem with it. I mean, again, just like what I said, just one or two bad apples. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really not a ongoing issue.
You're now gonna get calls because the fence is tattered and someone doesn't like the way it's flying in the wind, so.
Well, you never know.
Oh, you can bet they will.
We'll
They
get
chose
those
the wrong
calls.
color fencing.
We'll get those calls.
Any further discussion?
Do you want to set this for a public hearing next month, and I can add the securing the property when no one is present?
yeah, just after normal working hours with our ordinance for working hours.
Okay.
So then the motion would be to move this to public hearing.
Yeah. At the April 29th meeting.
Do we have anything else that needs to be incorporated, or is this the only outstanding item? I think it's just this item, right? Sometimes we have
You want
other
site
things
plan?
from the past couple
Oh.
months that we haven't updated, but we're all up to date other
No,
than
I
us.
think that's it.
Okay.
I think I'm holding on to some of the changes once we go to the 24 code.
Okay. Do we know when that will be?
The energy has not been published yet. It was, I think, the final position or hearing, it happened about a week ago. Everything is online or published, all the codes except for the energy. And that's why the IRC hasn't been published, because they're waiting on the energy.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we started in the county, we started the discussion about the changes. So we've already done commercial electrical changes. And gonna tackle the international, but again, the holdup is the energy code. So it's holding up everything, because now the gas and fuel people are in opposition, because with the new energy code, you basically can't do a gas, everything has to be electric.
Mm-hmm.
So the industry is fighting it back now.
They're not going to allow any kind of gas appliances?
No, because you can't meet the energy requirement. Once you do that, it's just.
The Department of Defense has already switched over.
The efficiency, you have pass to pass for like a single family, you have 4 pass to get your efficiency. And part of it is you do, like if you use high efficiency, you get points to your total efficiency. So once you get gas, like water heater, furnace, or range, you're gonna lose points. So now you have to figure out how to get those losses from others. You're already, I think one major issue is now
60 for this area?
Yeah.
Wow.
Basically, you have to build out a 2x6 for walls. I mean, I'll provide some amendments, but it's basically, we want to be consistent in the county.
Are you going to have some seminars to teach us all these new changes so we'll know what to deal with?
I need all the help for it.
What kind of a lead time are they going to allow existing homes? I mean, are they going to grandfather those in?
Yeah.
Yeah, but your issue is really, it's not code related, it's the federal government is mandating. So now, even on existing homes, FHA loan or whatever, now you have to meet some regulation. Loan, now you have to meet
So
federal government is enforced.
if in 2 or 3 years then a Fairway resident wants to sell their house and they have a gas water heater and a gas furnace, are they going to?
There's a good chance, yeah, you have to replace it.
Wow.
It's not code, it's gonna be the home companies.
Okay, so we just have this one item for public hearing next time, right? Okay.
And we have 2 application and have the one that's been delayed 3 months, and I think applicant is here, maybe she. The 4th month now.
Okay, she can't talk off record to all of us, so, right? Just maybe to myself and,
She has a copy of there, and she wants to know if it's gonna, if you will allow it or not. We can't talk about it.
Right, and we talked about that ahead of the meeting, that, you know, Basel needs an opportunity to prepare a staff report. You guys need an opportunity to review that before you can provide any comments, so I believe that that was clear, but.
The applicant here just wanted to see the process.
sure. Okay, so right now, someone want to make a motion to move the discussion that we had for the fencing, incorporating the locking of, securing the fence, move that to a public hearing for next meeting?
I'll make a motion that we set this for a public hearing April 29th.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next item of business is set the next meeting date for April 29th, 2024. There's a good chance I will not be here next month, just to make you aware. So you can run the public hearing, Ben. Anything else?
We do have a new application for a new single family, and we do have that went through a year ago, the annual
Oh,
revision. They're coming back with the same because it passed the 1 year.
okay.
They met the deadline, but the tenant finish plans came. They were eliminating some of the windows they were adding, so I'm like, well, the planning. And then it got delayed 3 months, so it passed the 1 year.
Okay,
So they have to come back. Planning commission.
makes sense. All right, any other discussion? All right, with that, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Making a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.